Hello and welcome, Kalos Division and everyone else who watches our analysis of the Kalos drafts. I am here with my good coaches Kev, the Dev TV. Hi Kev.
Hey.
From the Hamburg Hydreigons. And we also have R.EX from the Alpine Alchremies as last season. Hello R.EX.
There.
And yeah, today we will do 5 to 6 teams. We will split this analysis in 3 parts with 5 to 6 teams in each part, and on each of our channels will be one of these parts uploaded throughout the week. And as you can see, we will start with my team, and because I'm the coach, I will say my thoughts about the team at the end. So now, Kev, you have the word.
Thanks for the nice introduction, and thanks for passing the word on to me. Your team is, how could I say, it's quite intimidating. There's a lot on your, what is even missing on your team? That's hard to tell. You've got so many hard-hitting Pokemon, you've got such a nice bulky mode in your team. You kind of managed to pick up all the scary mons. And again, as in the last season, you got to pick Urshifu quite late in the draft and got the Urshifu again, which is also quite crazy, especially given that you have a center point in the draft. I think you were pick 9 or something like that.
Yeah, 9.
That's super crazy.
So I maybe can add something. If I look at this team, I have to say I see someone who doesn't want to have fun. It just want to crush the opponent. It looks like a typical, I would say, VGC. Someone is knowing what he's doing. Team for me. It has some nice niche picks, I must say, like Starmie, for example. I think it's a sleeper pick because overall Starmie is pretty good if you don't forget about it. But I think some sleeper picks, I mean, I'm very interested in what you can do with the, which always is able to troll me. I forget, Sudowoodo. I always think Sudowoodo. What? Sorry?
The plant rock.
Yeah, the plant rock. And it is always able to troll me because I always think it's a grass type.
It is.
yeah, it is. I mean, the thing is, Urshifu is in the team, and a team with Urshifu is always scary in my opinion, because Urshifu is one of the most busted mons we have. I mean, there's some checks for this thing, but to be able to always crit and to negate protect or max guard, even though with the G-Max form, is kind of busted. And you have a lot of offensive potential. I mean, what? Sorry? You want to say something?
No,
okay.
I will wait until you're finished.
Okay. I mean, you have a lot of offensive potential. I mean, Glaceon, for example. A lot of people maybe forget about it, but it has a 130 base special attack, which is incredible. And it can be quite annoying if Snow Cloak is triggering at some point of the match, and you will not able to hit it if your Dynamax is over. Hits very hard with Blizzard. You have the support with Whimsicott, which is one of the best pranksters in the game. With Tailwind, with Trick Room, so you can go both modes with Fake Cheers. Maybe we'll see Encore again, which maybe have a revival, because in the Dynamax meta you won't see it that often, but it's a draft and maybe we will see it. The Nidoqueen is a threat as well. Arcanine always a very good and versatile Pokemon. You can use it offensively, you can use it special, physical, as a supporter, beat up options with Whimsicott out there. Kangaskhan is always a fake out threat, which can even hit ghost types, which most of the team leaders maybe use to negate fake out, but you say, no, fuck it, I can fake out your ghost, I don't care. For Celesteela, you have the Lightning Rod Pokemon with Manectric, which can be it can be good. I mean, it depends on the matchup, I guess. I'm a big fan of the Teapot, so I'm very aware of what you're doing with it, because it has a lot of potential if you use it correctly and positioning it in the match correctly. But I think with Urshifu overall, you have a good pivot potential offensively, bulk-wise. I don't know what you don't have, like Kev said. I think it's a very broken team, again. And I will be love to beef it every week if I'm able to, because it has Urshifu, and I hate this motherfucker. Sorry for the language, but I have to say it. Thank you.
And I mean, you also have to take into account that typing-wise, this team has a phenomenal duo with both Urshifu and Nidoqueen, because, you know, one of the few things that can actually touch Urshifu is any fairy Pokemon. And not that you can just slap the respective berry onto Urshifu, but now you can also just put your Nidoqueen next to it and smash in some poison-type attacks to get rid of any fairy, whether it's like Primarina or Togekiss or whatever. You've got the Nidoqueen to cover for that. You've got the Celesteela to cover for that. That's quite amazing, and this is exactly the type of partner that Urshifu likes to have on its side. So I'm definitely excited to see how people will try to address that issue in your team. And like, it doesn't stop there. As Rex just explained in greater detail, you've got Whimsicott for all the support moves. You've got Arcanine, which can be basically anything and feels like a joker in your team. And, or as you described, basically every mon in your team, they are all a kind of Swiss Army knife, and you can do a lot of different things with them, which is exactly what makes your team so scary for a draft league, because you can never know what you are going to be doing with this team.
Yeah. I mean, and every Pokemon has not only one role, like you mentioned, it can be so versatile. So every Pokemon can have a supporter role, or for example, Celesteela can go physical and special as a sweeper if you want to. And I think even Urshifu can be a supportive Pokemon. Not to forget about that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so there's so many different modes in this team. Already with the first 4 Pokemon or so, I would say there's a variety of different modes that you can run. Yeah. And so this is... I wouldn't know what to prep for. And I'm just going to say I'm happy that we don't mesh this season. Yeah. Not before playoffs at the very least.
And I think the only, if there is one downside, the only real downside in my opinion is in the speed tiering, you have nothing that low. So if there is a very, very strong Trick Room mode, and if you're not able to disable it with maybe Taunt or Imprison or stuff, or sweep the Trick Room Pokemon, then maybe you have some issues. But other than that, I can't see any gap in this team.
Yeah, that's also actually the only point that I subtracted from your team. I gave you 3 out of 4 points for speed control, because the only thing that you're lacking, in my opinion, is an equally well-suited Pokemon for Trick Room or setting Trick Room. I mean, it works with Whimsicott, but in my opinion, Whimsicott isn't such a good Trick Room setter. It's better to prevent Trick Room.
Yeah, definitely. Although Starmie also learns Trick Room, but obviously Starmie is super fast as well.
Yeah, exactly. Neither of them likes to be in the trick room afterwards.
Yeah, the idea was basically, I knew I don't have a good trick room 1 or a good trick room mode, but I was like, if I see potential to run trick room, I can go for it, and my opponent probably won't expect it because my trick room setters are so fast, and like I know that I don't have the best way to stop Trick Room, like I don't have Trick Room in prison, but at least I have Kangaskhan, which can fake out pretty much every Trick Roomer, even the ghost types, and I can pivot around. And I also can go for a bulky route with Starmie, Nidoqueen, Arcanine, Celesteela. Like most cases, I think I could stall out the Trick Room, so I was like, okay, I noticed that while drafting, but there's no way to really fix it, and I think I'm fine with that, given that I have so many offensive potential that it's super hard for my opponent to set up the trick room in the first place. So I won't rate my team, but let me let us know what your points on the individual evaluation points are. Like you have the doc, and the viewer will see the doc after after we're finished with the teams.
Yeah, sure. I'll just go first and walk you through all the points quickly. There's 6 different categories that we have set here. Just explaining those quickly to you guys. First of them is typing, so we're trying to judge does the team cover all the important types, and do the types in the team cover each other well, or is there like 4 fire types in the team, or 6 ground weaknesses, or whatever. The next category would be speed control, judging exactly things like tailwind and trick room and playing under these conditions. Then the different modes that you can have. So can you run a slow mode? Can you run a fast mode? Can you run bulky? Can you run defensive or whatever? General support. So is there coverage for all the moves like fake out, intimidate, and other utility-based abilities? Offensive, I guess that one is pretty self-explanatory, and bulk as well. And as you can see, all categories can award up to 3 points, except for typing and speed control, because we judged them a bit more important and said those can give you up to 4 points. All these categories total in 20 points, which means you can, in the end, get 20 points or a grade on the scale from 0 to 10.
Exactly.
Alright, for the Charging Charizards, I rated your team 4 out of 4 in typing. The only type I see missing is Bug type, actually. And although I like Bug type Pokemon, they are really cool.
There's one more, Dragon is also missing. Like,
I didn't...
I picked Kangaskhan over Drampa because I wanted to fake out and the second beat up.
Got it. Yeah, that's a good reason, I would say. Absolutely legit. I don't think those typings are absolutely missing in your team, so I still leave or go with the 4 out of 4. In terms of speed control, as I just said, it's a 3 out of 4 because the kind of lack of Trick Room, as you explained, you don't necessarily need it, but it's kind of missing, and if you would have it, it would be even more scary. Modes, we said it plenty of times. There's all the modes you can imagine, so that's an easy 3 out of 3. General support as well, 3 out of 3. How can you give something different with Arcanine and Whimsicott in the same team? And yeah, for offense, I mean, we've got the Urshifu. That's the scariest offense you can have. No Protect is holy anymore. And you're also quite bulky. You said it yourself. You've got Starmie, you've got Kang, you've got Celesteela can also be quite bulky. You got all the bulk, basically. Arcanine can be super bulky. That's a total of 19, if I counted correctly.
Yeah, the doc makes it for you. Anyways.
I mean, I go through my points very quickly. Type-wise, I give 4 out of 4. Speed control, I give 3.5 out of 4. Because I think speed control does mean a little bit other things than just only speed in general. And I think on speed control, I think you have all you need on the table. and I just count in this 0.5 because you have not that hard of a trick room mode. But in modes in general, I give 3 out of 3. General support 3 out of 3 because you have such a variety of options. Offensively, I give 3 out of 3, and bulk-wise, I give 2.5 out of 3, but only because some of your mons have some. You have maybe a stat that is not that bulky, or a Pokemon like Manectric is not that bulky. But overall, you have a good bulk in this team in general overall, but I think a few tweaks can be made to make it even bulkier. This is why I come to an endpoint of 19 as well as Kev.
Okay, great. Thanks for the analysis. And I think we have to jump to the next team in order to make this video not last too long, which are the Zapping Pincurchins with Coach Silent. Another, I think, one of the better coaches out of last season. I mean, he was #1 for, I believe, the first 7 weeks or so, and he made it to the semifinals. So he's definitely a really good coach who's experienced in drafts already and had a really strong team last year. And I think he has a really scary team with a very niche strategy, which I considered as well, which is Perish Trap. But he doesn't rely completely onto Perish Trap. What do you think about the team when you look at it at first? One of you should start, or should I just continue?
I have to rethink the team a little bit.
Okay. I would actually hand the start to one of you guys because he is my first opponent, as you know, and I don't want to say too much right now.
Okay, then I will start. Like, I think his first pick was Liepard, and Liepard obviously is super good. Like, it's basically a mix out of my Meowstic from last season and a little bit of Whimsicott. Like, it has most of the moves that both of them have, besides Tailwind, and it brings the Fake Out from Meowstic and the Taunt from Whimsicott, which is really niche, and also it has Copycat, and Copycat is one of the best moves, especially with Dynamax format, because you can like get up a 100% Trick Room unless your opponent reverses the Trick Room, and that's really cool, especially with monsters like Gothitelle. And also Gengar, like Gengar can work in Trick Room if you build it correctly. It's really hard to stop it, especially since like you could also easily go for Fake Tears Shadow Ball, Fake Tears Max. I don't know what the G-Max move from Gengar is called. Like it's a really strong duo already, but he didn't end up there. Like he has also Gothitelle to basically continue his trap options. Like he gets the trap option with the G-Max Gengar move, and with Gothitelle, and like he has Perish Song on Gengar, so he has a really good end game. And with Liepard Gengar, he can go for very quick KOs in the early game, and then just finish the game after his Gigantamax is over with a Perish Song. And then it's really hard for the opponent to do something. But like he also has Primarina, which is one of my best Pokemon from last season, and I think he picked it because he saw how strong it is. And like I know that he also picked it because it has Perish Song, which is really good with what he picked already, and it synergizes with the Sceptile on his team, which is a niche pick, but I think Sceptile is really good on his team. Like he can go for the Pledge combo, but he also can go for the Unburden strat to make sure he can run his Sceptile super bulky, which is really niche. And then there's also the Glalie, who can proc the Sceptile's weakness policy with Ice Shot, so he has really good ways to support his Sceptile, which I really like. And now you maybe think, okay, he's really offensively, but where's the defense? Like he has also Corviknight and Entei and Primarina, which together build a very solid defensive core. Like they can switch into most things that they don't like, besides Electric. There's only Sceptile that can switch into Electric, and Sceptile is not super bulky, so that's and Pincurchin, I guess. Yeah, I overlooked Pincurchin because Pincurchin can also have Lightning Rod, so forget that point. Electric is super hard covered, so I think this is really good. And then he has also Grablock, which I just see. And Grablock is also a really niche pick. Like, it's a slow fighting Pokemon, which you at first think, okay, what does it do? Like, Grablock has a signature move that prevents you from switching. So that's even more trapping. So that's really scary. If you end up in a really bad position against him, you are on a very wild ride. Like, you can get swept super easily, or just don't, like, you're stuck in a position where you can't deal damage. For example, if he traps you with Corviknight on the field and you have 2 passive ones, he just sets up 6 iron defenses as 6 bulk ups and just beats you out of nowhere. So that's really, really niche, and I'm really looking forward what he wants to do. Typing wise, like, he has also Zoroark, which I think is cool. Like, you can trick your opponents with Zoroark. I personally don't like it because it's another dark type, and he somehow continues a little bit of his stacking weaknesses from last season. Not as hard as last season, but still with the double dark. And I think there was something more. I don't remember right now. No, it's only the double dark which is stubborn. But like double dark and ghost, it's really similar to each other, and psychic as well. And he has a lot of single target, not single targets. He has a lot of Pokemon with only one typing, so he lacks a lot of typings, which is something he had last season, and he was really good with it. But I personally just don't like it. But that's fine. So typing wise, I would only give him a 2 out of 4 in my opinion, because as I said, he's missing a lot of typings and he's staggering some types. Speed control wise, like, he has Tailwind with Corviknight, he has Trick Room, but other than that he doesn't have too much. Like, he has Unburden, but he doesn't have a fast Icy Wind besides, I mean, Gengar is reasonably fast, but if you want Icy Wind on Gengar, and especially on G-Max Gengar, like, you can't do too much with your G-Max anymore. And Baldur's on Entei is also fine, so that's decent, but it's not super great. So I would say it's, for me, a 3 at best. Modes wise, I think he can do a lot of stuff. Like, he can go for the taking KOs early with Gengar, setting up Perish Song in the endgame. He can go for copycat Max Guard based on Trick Room and play a little bit of a slow game. He can go for a setup strat with Corviknight. He has a lot of stuff that he can go for, especially with Scepter. So I would say, modes wise, he is, I would say, a 3, because with Grablock and Pincurchin he can also work in Trick Room super well. General support, like, he lacks Intimidate. He has 1 fake out user, which is no 2 fake out users, and that's pretty much it. Like, Liepard is really good as a general support, but besides that, there's not too many support. He has Gengar, which is fine, and he has Lightning Rod, but there's something missing for me. Like, he has Frisk as well, but then he can't trap with Gothitelle. He has Snarl as an option. I mean, he has solid options, but I mean, with Liepard, yeah, I think I have to give it a 3 because of Liepard. Otherwise, I would just say it's a 2, but with Liepard, it's fine. Offensive-wise, as I said, with Liepard, he has a lot of potential, and with Sceptile, but I think this could become a little bit predictable over time. People will prepare for it, and it's really specially oriented with Primarina, Gengar, and Sceptile. Like, Sceptile can run physical, but its special attack is way higher. So I would say offensive, it's only a 2. And bulk-wise, like, he has Corviknight, he has Entei, and he has Primarina, but everything else is not super buggy. Like, Gothitelle and Pincurchin are decently buggy, but at most times you struggle with them to make them bulky on both sides sometimes. Like, with Gothitelle you can most likely hit, like, take 1 hit on the physical end, but if your opponent invests super hard in a really strong special attack, it sometimes falls off to take the hit, and in reverse it's the same. So I would say it's only a 2 in bulk, which is, for me, 15 points, ending in a 7.5 grade, which is really solid in my opinion. And yeah, now I've told a lot of things, And now I will give up to one of you guys.
Maybe I can take the ball. I have to say first that this is just my personal opinion on the team. I personally, I don't know. The team for me, it feels kind of awkward, to be fair. But it's just because I have some experiences with some mons of his, like Sceptile, like Kaocto, or Grapple-Oct it's called, with Corviknight and so on. And I personally think he has not a good pivoting game here overall. And I think this trapping game, especially in a draft league, is not as good, I would say, as Tulane said. I would say it's pretty easily predictable, and to be fair, ghost types are ignoring this trapping effect anyhow. So if you're not very lost at the drafting, you should have a ghost type at least, and have some maybe Volt Switch or U-turn stuff as well. And you can even go with an item which makes you able to switch out. So I think this trapping option here is not as good. Sceptile overall is, in my opinion, not a good Pokemon in draft leagues. I used it before and I never brought it to any day because it was too bad. Every calc just said me, don't use it because it dies pretty easily. It has only one step, and if you want to make use of it, and Frenzy Plant is your best option, kind of. I mean, it has some support potential, of course, with Screech or so. But I think, especially if you think about the synergy with Pincurchin, it's not as good, I would say. He has a lot of weaknesses, which have a lot of Pokemon. So he cannot pivot in. So like, for example, Gengar has a ground type weakness, as Entei has, as Pincurchin has, and he has a fire type weakness on 3 Pokemon. And I don't know, I mean, Primarina on the other hand is a good Pokemon on its own. And I think Gothitelle as a support Pokemon as well. I don't see the synergy of Grapple-Oct here, to be honest, because I see Soak if you go with the Trick Room mode. But the thing is, you have to, if you use Soak with Grapple-Oct and you have to set the Trick Room before, then Grapple-Oct is always slower in the Trick Room as Pincurchin, so you can have to Soak after the attack of Pincurchin. So it's kind of weird in my thought process. It's kind of weird to use that team. I mean, I'm pretty sure he thought a lot of his team and the synergy and what he's want to run with it. But for me, just in personal, I don't like it, to be honest, because I think it's very frail and you can just get swept pretty easily by hyper offense opposing teams. So I gave it a 2 out of 4 type-wise, because I think there's a lot of potential to improve the type synergy here. Speed control, there is some speed control, of course, but I don't see how he can make very good use of it. So I give it a 2 out of 4 as well. Modes, I don't see very much modes here, to be honest. So I give it a 1.5 out of 3. General support, he has a lot of support options, in my opinion, so I gave it a 3 out of 3. And offense and bulk, 2 out of 3 on both ends, because there is some offensive threat potential here, and there is some bulk here, but overall it's kind of mishmash, in my opinion. So Kev, what do you think about your first opponent?
Yeah, I'll just try to keep it to a quick rundown, also to minimize time. I might be a bit biased here because he's also my first opponent and I looked at the prep already, and I think it's a quite scary team, at least for one of the first matches, because there's a lot of mind games involved, actually. Like, for example, with Zoroark you can do a lot of creepy and weird things to your opponent they don't expect, and you can really trick them, which is quite fun also. I really like that idea. As I don't even remember who of you said it anymore, but I think it was Rex. I think this is going to wear off over time, so it's way scarier in the beginning than it is in the end, which is a bit unfortunate for me, but hey. But overall, yeah, typing-wise, I also got a 2 out of 4 because there's some important types missing. Some of the types are not covered as well as they could be, and you two also already elaborated on this. The primary reason is that most of his mons don't have a secondary type, so naturally there's quite some things missing, and naturally there's some stuff that he just cannot switch in as easy as he could be able to. But at the same time, we also know that he had the same weakness last season and managed to play around that quite well. So, speed control, I've got a 3 out of 4. I don't think he has too many ways to actually control the speed, but he has a lot of nice ways to play within the speed that the enemy tries to control. And he can also easily do stuff you do not expect, like with the unburdened Sceptile. That's really nice. It can be super fast, and if you don't pay attention for this during your prep, it can throw you off quite easily. Or if there's, I don't know, you don't expect the weakness policy onto it, and suddenly it gets unburdened, weakness policy boosted, is super fast and super strong and hits you out of the blue. You also got the whole trapping stuff, which can not really control the speed itself, but the pace of the game, of course. So I really like that as a form of speed control in the team. And this brings me to the next point of modes. It's his primary mode, which is why I have a 2 out of 3. Not because I do not like the trapping mode, but because I don't see too many other different modes. I know there is some different modes, but they are rather niche, and they are rather relying on a few single Pokemon. Like from my last season, I know that Corviknight alone on its own can already bring in a lot of different modes and can get you to play in different modes. But that then really relies on Corviknight, and if your opponent gets rid of the Corviknight, for example, every mode that comes with it is gone in a second. So there is a lot of different modes, but in my opinion, the variety of modes relies too much on individual Pokemon than being spread throughout the whole team, basically. The general support is okay. I gave it a 2 out of 3. There's a few things are lacking, a few moves to control the stats of your opponent and so on are not there that I think would be quite beneficial, but at the same time he has a really strong prankster Pokemon with Liepard. So Liepard definitely raises the point stats in general support. As for offense, I think there's some good offense, but there's the room to improve here, and I think 1 or 2 switches to the offensive side could make it a bit better later in the season. At the same time, also some of the mons that are maybe not as offensive as they might seem at first glance can be quite offensive. So let's see, maybe he pulls off some surprises. I know last season I was a bit surprised by how strong Pincurchin could be when he actually Dynamaxed it in front of my Pokemon, and I was like, oh, I did not see that coming. That was kind of scary. So there's definitely some hidden offensive modes in his team, I would say. And bulk-wise, yes, he only has Corviknight, Primarina, and Entei. But these 3 already cover each other quite well, which I really, really like. And I know how bulky, for example, a Corviknight or a Primarina can be. And this is, in my opinion, scary enough for a 3 out of 3 in bulk. You can bring 6 Pokemon only anyways, so these 3 are more than enough to have a nice and steady bulk combined with your Perish Trap, which I think is quite solid. And this brings me to an overall of 14 points, which is grade 7.
And not
Okay,
forget
great.
not forget about the threat of Moody and Sheer Cold stuff.
Oh, that's nasty. If he hits a single sheer code versus me, I will find him on Mallorca.
I mean, he can be quite annoying with Moody. If
Yeah, I will. But I can punish through his protect, so I don't care too much about it.
yeah.
Okay, Kev. Now we will go to your team.
And
And
maybe because you started the teams before, maybe I can start with Kev's team.
Sure.
So
I don't mind.
Okay, so first and foremost, I have to say I quite like Kev's team, and this is because he drafted again Colossal, the G-Max Colossal, which I think is always a threat. You always have to prepare for it, even though he's not bringing it, but you always have to be cautious about it, especially if you combine it with maybe it is the best draft Pokemon ever created, Dragapult, because it's so freaking versatile and you can play so different mode with it. I mean, it's a perfect partner for Colossal, of course. Besides, you doesn't have a Kangaskhan or another scrappy fake outer. It's pretty free to use Surf to proc the weakness policy and do some shit with Colossal. And what I very like is the combination of Colossal Dragapult and that you decided to go for the Virizium in tier 2, because I think personally it's a very good combination type-wise. And you can do a lot of cool stuff with Virizium, Dragapult and G-Max Colossal on their own. This is a very good delta in my opinion, which is very threatening. The Bell here, so is a very good Trick Room setter, I think. It's kind of underrated in my opinion, especially in draft leagues. It cannot do a lot of stuff. I mean, you don't even have to use it as a supporter. The Bell can be very offensive if you use it correctly as well. I really do like the Luxray pick. It's, in my opinion, kind of a budget Arcanine with some lack of options, but it's overall a good Pokemon with very good abilities. I mean, a Guts boosted Luxray can do some stuff. It has a lot of cool support options as well. I think on Baby Doll Ice here, for example, I really love that you picked Articuno as well, because I have it in another draft league as well, and it surprised me how fucking bulky it is. Articuno can surprise. You will not maybe be able to knock it out with a rock type move. So these 6 Pokemon on their own I totally love, because I think they have a good pivoting potential type-wise. It's pretty cool. You can set up, you can support, you have bulk, you have offensive, you have modes. So you have everything I think here you need. And then there's Lopunny, which is kind of a cool niche pick in my opinion, because you have to always be aware of some stuff like Switcheroo and Assault Vest on the supportive Pokemon, for example, because it has Klutz. You have the fake out potential, it has Charm, it has good speed tiering as well. The normal type is in draft is very good typing as well. So you can do some stuff with it, I'm pretty sure. The Golisopod, I love Golisopod. If there is a person who can control it in a match with ease and it is very good, then I think Golisopod is a very good Pokemon, very good bulk, offensively a machine, as a priority machine. I mean, you have to be aware of the ability, of course, but you can make use of it as well if you use it correctly. I mean, the Crocodile. I think Krookodile is awesome as well. It has 3 very good abilities. It can steamroll whole teams if you're not be aware of, especially if you play it with Anger Point and be able to crit it. It's a very good Pokemon. Type-wise, the Dark type fits in perfectly in my opinion. Sorry. Then there is the God of War. I think you see it not that quite often currently, but I think God of War showed in the past that it is an awesome Pokemon. You can use it offensively, supportively. It is a Trick Room setter as well. It can do some niche things as well. And the Skuntank, I'm not quite sure about that because I don't think you needed this poison dark combination in your team, just in my opinion. But I also know that tier 4 is kind of a trash tier. And if some good picks are gone, then you're kind of screwed and you have to pick what is left. And maybe this is, you can tell us later, but maybe this is one of those picks you had to do. I think the Skuntank is kind of awkward in this team, but overall the other ones I really do like. I don't even have to say some more stuff to this team. I really like it. I think if I go to the scoring board here, type-wise, I would, just a personal opinion, I would give out a 4 out of 4. I think speed control, you have a lot of speed control if you look in depth. You can go a lot of different modes. I mean, maybe you can say there is, at least with 3 Pokemon, you can go alone 4 different modes or 5 different modes, which is scary to me, to be honest. The general support is, I don't know, maybe some people would say it's lacking, but I think you have a lot of good support options here. And because your Pokemon the Pokemon you have can go different styles. You can make it supportive, physical, special offensive. You have a lot of options. Offensively, I mean, you can do a lot of damage. Let's say it that way. You can do a lot of damage with the team. And bulk, you have a lot of bulk as well. So what can I say more? I would give it... It's crazy. Maybe I should...
Rex, you can only go 3.
Yeah, sorry.
4 things.
Just
goes to show how strong this team is.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. So, overall, it's kind of crazy why I give it. Maybe I just love this team in general, and I would love to play it on my own. I come to a point score from 20.5, which isn't
too much on bulk.
Yeah, sorry. Not.
It's fine.
19.5. It's my final score for that team. So, I love that team, Kev. Sorry.
Nothing to say sorry for. That's dope to hear. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Now let's hear about your opinion, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, first I have to say, like, you reached out to me while drafting. Hey, I want to pick Chimix Corsa. Do you have some ideas? And I was like, okay. You sent me a draft plan, and I was like, okay, there are 3 or 4 things that I would change, and yeah, you changed those things, and this is the draft that came out. So obviously, I'm a little bit biased on it because some of the picks or some of the suggestions are from my own idea and also from you. Like, it's not like I told you pick those things. I told you I would consider like these 3 Pokemon on that slot, and you just pick the best mon for you. So no credits at all to me. It's all the credits to you. And first of all, I have to say, you have every typing in the game on the team, as far as I've seen.
I do.
Every type is there, yeah. So easily a 4 out of 4. Like there's no denying. Like I can't deny that. Like yes, there's double psychic and double dark, but that's absolutely fine. Like you can't, you like you don't have to pick a psychic type over like a normal fairy type over Gardevoir just because you have the psychic type already. If Gardevoir is the clearly better mon, just go for it. Yeah, like Colossal, Dragapult, Virizion. Do I have anything to say about it? Like you can surf, you can beat up, you can do everything. And I think Virizion is the thing you missed last season. A very good partner for Colossal. A mon that can switch and cover the weaknesses of Colossal. Mainly the water and the ground weakness, which Virizion covers perfectly. It's a completely different mon, which is I think even more scary sometimes because you can't predict it. Like versus Colossal, you know what it does, but versus Virizion, it can also go for coaching stuff onto Dragapult. So it's most likely like you have Terrapult and you have Colossal Pult and you have Virizion Pult. It's a really good core, and I'm surprised you got that core, and I'm looking forward to see you using it. And then you have Bronzong, which can also pair up with Colossal. It can switch into Colossal. It's another ground immunity if you want to. Bronzong in general is one of the best Trick Room setter, like with the abilities and the right item, like a berry, like a mental herb. You can't really deny the Trick Room on Bronzong. Maybe you can do it in game 2 when you know what ability it runs, what item it runs, but it's really, really hard to deny the Trick Room in game 1. And Colossal Bronzong can also be really good core. Like you don't have to run Colossal super fast. You can also go for Bronzong and Bulldoze your Colossal and just sweep in the Trick Room. So Colossal Bronzong gives you a very good mode besides Dragapult Colossal, which I really like. Luxray, as you said, it's like the Arcanine that left the Fire Nation to become a Rockstar. Like that's why it's an electric typing. And Luxray is really, really cool. Like it's one of the best tier 3 picks. It's one of the best electric types, I think. Like yes, its speed is mediocre, but like you have Dragapult for it to increase the speed, and bulk-wise it's also quite fine. I think Luxray is a really good mon. Articuno gives you the Tailwind option, gives you Dragapult as a potential Dynamax mon with Ice Shot as an option to run Weakness Policy on Dragapult. And yeah, Articuno in general, really good pick for tier 3, and it's really bulky. Like the typing is bad, but the bulk is definitely good. Lopunny, one of the best tier 4 Pokemon. Like it has a niche that only Lopunny has, which is the Lumber ability, or the Klutz ability. Sorry, and you cannot only pass a Assault Vest, you can also pass Eject button, which your opponent can't even scout. That's really good. And yeah, Crocodile, another Intimidator, really, really good. Also pairs up super well with Dragapult, going for maxed Airstreams onto it. Crocodile gets a KO, and then you pretty much have a Dragon Dance boost and a kill on Crocodile. Goliath support, another way to proc the Colossal. Something you missed last season, like you had Crawdont Aquajet, but Crawdont Aquajet is nothing that you want to fire off onto your Colossal. And Goliath support, like the ability is kinda bad, but sometimes it's really good. And if you only have 2 Pokemon left, the ability doesn't hinder you at all. Skuntank, yeah, Skuntank is not the best Pokemon, but tier 4 really good. Poison type was a type you missed. Double Dark is fine, and you have another way to proc Dragapult's Weakness Policy, and Skuntank has some other niche that it can do. Gardevoir, another Trick Room mon, Fairy type was needed. Very good abilities with Trace and Telepathy. Like if you want to go for Earthquake stuff, you can go for Earthquakes next to Gardevoir, which gives you 3 partners for the Crocodile. Like you have you have Articuno, you have Bronzong, and you have Gardevoir, which is really, really good. And yeah, Gardevoir with Trace, you can always trace a really good ability if needed, and you have a way to deny Trick Room at all costs with Imprisoned Trick Room. So I think that's really, really good. Going to the scoring board, like typing wise, I already said it's a 4 out of 4 easily. Speed control wise, like you have Tailwind, you have Dragapult with Max Airstream, you have 2 really good Trick Room setters. I believe Articuno also gets Icy Wind, if I'm not mistaken. Crocodile gets Bulldoze, like you have so many options. It's easily a 4. Modes like Colossal, Dragapult, Virizion on its own is a 3 out of 3, but then there's also the Trick Room mode and the Policy mode for Dragapult and so many more stuff. General support, that's what you miss a little bit, like you have speed control, but that's already covered in the speed control evaluation, so I can't keep that in the general support. And then there's only Dragapult with Will-O-Wisp and screens, which is really good. Virizion has coaching stuff. Bronzong gives you some decent options, but overall it's not super great. Offensive, like it's Colossal, Virizion, Dragapult. I don't have to say anything about the offensive potential. Bulk-wise, it's for me only a 2 out of 3 because you have a lot of good typing synergy, but like in Virizion and Colossal and Articuno, you also have a lot of 4x weaknesses, and sometimes it's hard to switch around if you have a lot of 4x weaknesses on the team. However, since you have every typing in the game, it's still fine, and the bulk on your team is still fine because like Dragapult is really fast, so you can in most games run it super bulky. Colossal is the same, it has really good natural bulk, Virizion, really good special bulk, and everything else on the team you can just EV it in the right way, and you have double intimidate to make up for the lack of bulk that you might have. But overall it's for me only a 2 out of 3 because like the typing, the 4x weakness is just, I have to drop 1 point, which makes me rate your team at 18 points, which is a grade out of 9, which is really good.
Yeah, thanks. Really glad to hear that. Let's see how my Hamburg Hydreigons can come in after being rated the 14th team in the overall Kalos rating.
I can't understand that at all.
Let's see. We're the underdogs.
The silver rating overall is kind of weird.
Yeah, let's see how it plays out. Maybe I will end up in place 14. I hope not. But yeah, just my 2 cents. Didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but yes, Articuno does get Icy Wind, so that's really nice. It's also a speed control form that I personally really like because a lot of people kind of overlook it when they prepare for speed control. So that's always great to squeeze in. The 4x weaknesses is something that I got aware of during my draft at some point, and I was like, well, like maybe Gastrodon would have been a nice fit to also mitigate the bulk a bit more because I don't have too many like mons that are primarily bulky. And then I was like, wait a second, no, I can't do that. That's just another 4x weakness. So yeah, that was kind of a scary situation to navigate in during the draft, especially because with 1 or 2 picks that could have been sniped, I could have gone into a weird, bad spot. Luckily, I didn't get there. And thanks, of course, also for all the ideas to them while picking. It was really nice having that back and forth, and was really, really helpful to improve my team from the last season, which basically is what I did here. I initially didn't even want to draft Colossal again. It was kind of my first plan, my early out, because I didn't have too much time for planning, and it was like, Cole is a Pokemon I really, really love, and I already played in Draft League. And although my resume from last season was, okay, Colossal is actually extremely great, but not that great for Draft Leagues because everybody over-preps for it,
Did we lost
Kev? I think so.
I feel like I took the experiences that I earned. Oh no, am I back? Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
Yeah, I just said, I feel like I took my experiences from that Colossal team in the last season and my learnings and improved on them and found all the weaknesses that I had and replaced them with like actual strengths. For example, getting in that Virizion, getting in Dragapult, which is kind of the improved version of Sneasel. That's super nice, and I'm also extremely surprised that I got that core. I think my main mistake last season was to start out with the Colossal pick, and this season I started out with the Dragapult pick, which gave me more options. Actually, I wanted to pick Dragapult and Terrakion, but neither Terrakion nor Virizion or Colossal were picked, and so I was like, okay, I gotta pick up my boy, and got the Colossal.
Yeah, and as I said, you pretty much have Terrapult anyways.
Exactly, I got the Terrapult Light, so that's fine. Alright, I guess that's enough about my team. We got another banger team, in my opinion, on our list, which is the BullyBlue Snorlax. So let's jump right to Big Relaxo.
Yeah, and I want to be the last guy to rate this team because I pretty much built the draft plan, so I'm obviously very biased on this draft. So please let me know what you think about it first.
Alright, I'll just continue with the ball right here. The first pick, I think, was Glastria, right? It was.
Yeah, he was first pick overall.
Exactly, he was first pick overall. He directly picked up the Glastria. That was a really nice first mon to pick in a draft league. Glastria got so many nice moments in the previous season, so it was definitely one of the first mons to be picked up, and it actually was the first one to be picked up. The Chilling Neigh ability is amazingly strong, and Glastria on its own also has ridiculous stats, is super offensive while also being super bulky. I have no clue what they thought when they made this Pokemon, but it's really cool, and having that on the team in the draft league is really nice. I'm happy it has a fire and a rock type weakness. Colossal is really gonna like that. But at the same time, maybe Glastria is also gonna like that because it really loves weakness policies, I heard. And overall, this team actually has a lot of, I would say, niche picks. A lot of the picks on this team are not like the super prominent and favorite Pokemon everybody wants to pick. But this makes the team even cooler because it's still super strong. You have, like, this team has amazing speed tiering with, I think, 3 Pokemon overall with more than 120 base speed, which is already crazy. You've got the Boltund, which is super fast. You've got the Tornadus, which is super fast. And you have the Ribombee, which is super fast and can even pass on its speed with speed swap to any of the mons. Like, for example, you could run Ribombee and Glastria and have a super duper fast Glastria, which you normally wouldn't expect. So that's quite scary, and I think in terms of speed control, already super interesting to speak about this. Then, of course, there's also the Dusknoir, which has not only the Frisk ability that is always super handy and nice to have as general support in draft leagues, but you also get the Trick Room. It's not as good as a Trick Room setter as maybe the Dusclops, but still is extremely bulky, hard to wear down actually, and although it's a bit faster as well, it still does the job as well. It's just T3, so what do you even expect of that? And for a tier 3 mon, it's actually quite a good Trick Room setter in my opinion. There's also Scrafty, which I really like. Gets in the Moxie, gets in the Intimidate, which is even more important. And also the typing of Scrafty is really cool. I actually like the Dark and Fighting typing. Kind of the same as Urshifu, of course. The Fairy weakness is a bit scary here. But if you can mitigate the Fairy type weakness, which I think he can do quite well with, for example, Duraludon, then you're kind of in a safe way, and you can weaken your opponent's physical abilities, which is nice. Boltund, in my opinion, is one of the best supportive Pokemon in draft leagues. I played it on my own last season, and it was amazingly good, and it always threw my opponents off, so really mad props for the Boltund pick. I actually really, really love that. Volcarona is super cool, of course, because it gets you the ability to also get in a Rage Powder, maybe. Of course, you can prepare for that, but still, like, pressuring your opponent in bringing safety goggles just to avoid your potential Rage Powder is really nice. And yeah, you basically force your opponent to waste an item, which is extremely good. I think there's a lot of modes in this team. None of them are super obvious or apparent, but there's a lot of versatility in the team. The only one that I was a bit curious about is the Appleton. I actually don't know too much that you can do with Appleton, to be honest. But I bet there's a nice hidden strategy. And of course, it was just a tier 3 Gmax, so it gave him the ability to draft even more stronger mons with the 3 points, which, you know, you can always use these.
Don't worry, I will say something about Appleton when it's my turn.
Okay. So Kev, you're finished with your roundup?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think so. Oh, the only missing one maybe is Claydol. Claydol is quite nice, especially because in tier 4 getting the Levitate is really awesome, I think. And it covers the ground type weakness that is a bit apparent in the team, but yeah, with the Levitate, that's actually quite awesome.
Yeah. I really like the team as well. I think it has a lot of mode potential here. I mean, the Glacier on its own, it's very strong. Suicune is bulky as hell. It can set up, it can support Wise do some stuff. I don't know exactly, does it have Tailwind?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Tailwind
so
and Icy Wind.
okay, well,
and
so-
Bulldoze.
so yeah, Suicune is a very strong Pokemon, offensively, supportively. The typing with only 2 weaknesses is pretty strong as well, especially if you pair it with this horse. But Volcarona, he has, I think, none of the teams we talked about before has a direct redirection besides of Ally Switch.
They didn't.
So we hadn't any follow me user till now. So the first one here is Volcarona with Rage Powder, which is always a good thing. But Volcarona brings even more on the table. I mean, it hits very hard, even though it has the 4-time weakness and is defensively not strong. It has a good special bulk, and like it's especially offensively very strong. It has the option to set up with Quiver Dance as well. Has a lot of cool support stuff to have speed control, to Screech, for example. Yeah, so you always have to be aware of the Volcarona. I mean, the how is it called in English? I forgot what the Butterfree is. No, it's not Butterfree. Not.
Yeah,
sorry.
but
No.
Butterfree is the other.
No, it's not. Rebombi.
Ah.
Rebombi. Yeah. It's always kind of scary because of this speed swap you told before, and the Pollen Puff. The Pollen Puff is very, very crazy here, especially if you combine it with the Glastrier. So you have a fast Glastrier, and you can Pollen Puff it as well. This is a very, very crazy combination. He has 2 Trick Room Setter as well. Dusknoir, I think, is maybe kind of an underrated pick. I mean, it's not as bulky as Dusclops, of course, but it can do some stuff. And it does the job very well. The Claydol, I don't know about the Claydol, to be honest. Maybe it's just because the tier 4 has not very good stuff at this point left. I think personally Claydol is a fine pick if you take in regards that it is tier 4. But I don't like it in that team, to be honest, even though it has Levitate. The Scrafty and the Boltund and the Tornadoes, I picked them on the pack. Very good support Pokemon, but Scrafty showed in the past as well. It's a very beast on the bulk side, so it can just, it is a bullet sponge for attacks. It has cool options with Intimidate, with Fake Out. I don't know if it has Acid Spray in this generation, maybe it doesn't.
I'll check that real quick as you continue.
But in the past it was very strong as well with Acid Spray, but it can set up as well. I mean,
It still has.
Okay, it still has, so it's even more threatening here. I mean, it can Dragon Dance. This is an option for Scrafty to set up with Dragon Dance as well. The Boltund, like Kev said, is maybe an underrated support one. I mean, it can learn Electrify, as well, so you can make your own attacks or your opposing attacks to an electric type attack. So maybe someone is thinking, okay, I just one-shot the Clado to not set up a trick room. Then you say with Bolthold, no, I electrify a move to electric type move, so Clado won't get hit. It's an option. Or if you think about the 4-time weakness of Appleton, you can just make it to a 4-time resistance electric type move, which can hit the Appleton. The Thunderous, in my opinion, overall is very, very, very strong supportive
It's
Pokemon.
Tornadus.
Sorry, Tornadus. And Duraludon, to be honest, I was pretty sure from the beginning on that Big Galaxo is drafting Duraludon again, because I think it's a big fan of it, and Chulane is the best Duraludon split builder in the world, I think. But yeah, Duraludon, I mean, only the ability Stalwart is just amazing. It is offensively a very threatening Pokemon. It can defensively, it soaks a lot of attacks, so it's a bullet sponge on the defensive side. The special side, it lags a little bit, but you can play it around, I think. So yeah, I think Duraludon is a very, very good and strong pick, especially the speed stat with 85 is very solid. Especially if you combine it with a lot of support stuff here you have in the team. The Appleton, I can tell at least that I wanted to pick in another draft league, because it has some modes which are pretty strong, and you would be surprised how bulky it is. I mean, it can stall out a G-Max Charizard matchup, which is kind of crazy. And it has a mode with a weakness policy, which I won't tell here, but there is a weakness policy mode with it, which is kind of crazy. And I won't tell it here because I want to see it in a match. But overall,
I think Crash.
Not that. But yeah, it has to do something with what Snorlax normally can do. Type-wise, I would say it's, for me personally, a 3.5 because he has 2 bug types. The Trick Room mode is hit by offensively dark types very hard. I think the rock weakness is kind of strong here. You can mitigate it and play around, but it's, for an opposing side, it's very clear that it is there. Speed control, I think he has everything he needs, from T-Wave to Icy Wind to Tailwind to Trick Room to Speed Swap. He had a lot of stuff. The modes he can go for maybe aren't overall that clear. He has a lot of modes. He has a very lot of modes he can go through. The general support is there on nearly every Pokemon, besides maybe Glastrier. Maybe Glastrier can be a support Pokemon as well. I don't know. I even don't know. Maybe it can. The offensive is pretty strong in my opinion. Alone Glastrier or Volcarona. You will be surprised how strong even Pollen Puff from this Ribombee is. Tornadus is strong. Duraludon. I won't go even further. He has bulk overall in this team. He can set even screens to be even more bulky. He can set up max steel spike, max ground move. I forgot the correct
Quake.
Max Quake. Thank you. I don't know. I come to an overall point stat of 19 at this team, and yeah, I think it's over one of the strongest team of all of Kalos. So yeah, you did a very good job with it, Chulane.
Okay, I will just go through it really quickly. The first pick, Dusty, obviously is broken. Like, it has Groudon stats. It's pretty much Groudon as an ice type without the drought ability. Compare this bulk. It's Groudon. Trust me, it's Groudon, and it can take pretty much any hit in the game. It's stupidly, and on the ladder, you most likely go 2-5-2, 2-5-2, but in a draft league, you can run a specific item, you can EV it in a way to lift even more attacks. Like, it's just disgusting, and I knew from the start, like, Lucas, you have to pick Glastrier if you're the first person, because otherwise you won't get it and you will regret it, because Glastrier is broken as fuck. The second pick, I believe, was Suicune. Like, Suicune, it has inner focus, so it can't get faked out. It has Tailwind, it has Icy Wind, it has Snarl, like, it has so many support, but it can also set up with Core Mind, and it's really well paired with Glastrier. The next pick was, I believe, Volcarona. So having another check to fire types, like Volcarona gets hit neutral by fire types, but it switched into fire types decently well, and it gives a lot of support. Like, it also has Struggle Bug and String Shot and Rage Powder, but you can just run it offensively as well. Also pairs super well with Scrafty, like Intimidate and Fake Out really well with the Quiver Dance. Dusknoir was intentional because it's pretty much Dusclops and much cheaper. Also, you don't have to run an Eviolite item. Like, yes, you are a little bit less bulky, but overall in a draft league, it's better to have versatility on your item slot. And with Dusknoir, you can run berries if you need to survive a hit, and you can run Mental Herb to play around the taunt. So I think overall Dusknoir is the better one. It's way better than Dusclops in a draft league. And yeah, like Bolton, Tornadus, really good, really fast together. Tornadus T, really underrated. Like, it has so many options. It has another Tailwind, it has Taunt, it has a lot of bulk, even paired with Regenerator, super strong, can pivot around with U-turn. And you can also go for side Volt Switch with Bolton into Tornadus. I think it's a really underrated mon, and I'm shocked that no one considered it, to be honest, especially since it's only tier 2. Duraludon, favored mon of me and him. Like, Duraludon is awesome. Awesome typing, awesome ability, and with a surface you can take pretty much every hit you need to. Claydol, yes, it's not the best one, but as you said, the team has a rock problem, and Claydol was pretty much the best ground type left in the pool, and also having a levitate ability and setting up Trick Room and screens was kinda good. Like, there weren't too many good ground types in the tier 4 left anyways. And the last one I missed, I think, is Appleton. Like, Appleton Gmax was intentional because it's a tier 3 pick, so you get extra points, which was needed for the draft climb. And like, it has a 4x weakness, but with Thick Head it doesn't have a 4x weakness. And if you don't need the Thick Head ability, it has Gluttony and Ribbon, which pairs super well with berries. And can also go for Recycle. Like, it has Recycle, it has Leech, it has Iron Defense, Body Press, it has Amnesia. It can stall up pretty much everything it wants to. And you would be surprised how good Appleton can be. And also the Appleton Gmax effect is kinda good. It negates something like Burn and stuff like that. So that's really good with Glastrier. And speaking of negating stuff, Ribombee can't get faked out. And Sweet Veil also prevents your team from going to sleep. So that overall protects Glastrier super well, which was the goal of the draft. And going to the scoreboard, typing wise, I only give it a 3. Like, they're missing. There's the normal typing, the rock typing, and the poison typing missing. Originally, the plan was to pick Nihilego, but didn't fit anymore because of some snipes. Speed control, like Suicune, Double Trick Room, Tornadus, Bolton, there are so many things to control the speed. It's easily a 4/4. Modes wise, there are so many modes. I give it a 3 for sure. General support, like Scrafty, Fake Out, Intimidate, Frisk with Dusknoir, Rage Powder, being immune to sleep, having the ability to reverse like burns or para. Like, there are so many things on the team. Offensive, you have Duraludon, Glastrier, not Bolton, Tornadus, and even Volcarona can all do very much damage. And bulk-wise, like, I think this is pretty much the bulkiest team on the draft. Like, it's obviously a weather-dedicated Trick Room team with very fast pivots like Tornadus, which are also super bulky and having the regenerate ability to heal itself up, and Ribombee being able to heal the bulky Pokemon while having Appleton as a late game option to stall out the opponent. It's just super disgusting if you don't have a way to knock out these Pokemons. Like, he has a lot of Pokemon that can potentially 1v4 Pokemon teams if the conditions are in the right position. So I think it's easily a 3, which in total gives him 19 points with a grade of 9.5. And I think we only missed the scoring of Kev.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give a quick rundown of this. Just point-wise typing, I am at 3 out of 4. Basically because of what you just explained. There's just a few types missing, even if it's due to snipes. They are lacking in that team. Speed control-wise, it's easily 4 out of 4 for me. Modes is 3 out of 3, especially because the modes are not that apparent and he can do a lot of mind games and nice creative prep for the draft league. There's a lot of good support options he has, so that's a 3 out of 3 as well. Offense, I was a bit on the fence, but I think 3 out of 3 is more than does more than justice for this team. So I definitely go with the 3 instead of a 2.5 or whatever. And bulk, yeah, it's also just easily a 3 out of 3. As you just said, it's probably one of the bulkiest teams in the league. So what can you even say of the team in terms of bulk? And this also gets me to a point total of 19, which results in a 9.5 for the final grade.
Awesome.
All right,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say the same thing as you. Let's just go ahead to the Norwegian Darmanitans. Who wants to start? I really don't care. I
Yes,
can do it if you want. If you don't want.
Since you got the speaking ball, you should proceed, I would say.
Okay. Well, now we have the first, in my opinion, really odd draft. Like, I think he's Faulkner. I think he got the flying type gym that we're supposed to get in Gen 2. Like, he's pretty much Birdkeeper Toby, I would say, if he would be a YouTuber. Like, he has Moltres, he has Crobat, and he has Togekiss. I think that's a little bit too much of an airline, but we have to see. Let's start with his first pick. I think his first pick was the Galarian Moltres. Obviously, great mon. Like, it's so good. Having the Berserk ability, having Nasty Plot and the option to Dynamax, forcing your opponent to play mind games, whether or not he wants to play around the weakness policy, but at the same time he can't ignore it because he can set up himself. And it also can be super bulky, like it's pretty much cheap Yveltal, if you want to say it, and Yveltal is broken. And yeah, Galarian Moltres, big fan of it. The next pick, I don't know the pick order anymore. Let's just continue with the G-Max mon. G-Max Pikachu, honestly, I wanted to pick it. Originally, I wanted G-Max Pikachu in normal Urshifu, but he picked G-Max Pikachu before me. Obviously, great partner for the birds. Lightning Rod, super good. Fake Out, super good. Volt Switch option. G-Max Pikachu, I'm a big fan of it in general because the G-Max move really strong, even able to paralyze ground types. And with Light Ball, it does really much, like, it does a lot of damage. It's a really underrated mon. He has obviously Tailwind. How could he not have Tailwind with 3 birds in Crobat? Crobat is probably one of the best Tailwind setters, although it doesn't have Super Fang anymore, which definitely hurts it. It's still very viable. Like, it can't get like faked out, and it's pretty much the fastest Tailwind user that isn't Prankster, and that's really strong. Also having Taunt as an option, and I believe so many, like, it also has Icy Wind, Haze, like Crobat has so many things that it can do. It also can go offensively, like it has decent move, well, not the best, but you can do some stuff with it. And yeah, then you have also Swampert with which is a really good partner for Crobat. I used that back when I played singles underused. I used that core a lot. Like, they switch into each other pretty well. Swampert being able to resist those nasty rock type attacks, those nasty electric type attacks and stuff like that. And Crobat and the birds covering the grass weakness of Swampert super well. And Swampert also really good with Yawn, with Icy Wind, and also Curse option. It has a lot of things going for it. Cursula, not too much of a fan of it, because I don't think he has speed up, which would be something with weak armor, but I don't see beat up right now, other than Scraggy, but that's really niche. I don't see that working too well. I would have liked to see something else as a ghost type of Cursula. Also, I don't think it pairs super well with the Pokemon that he picked so far. Vikavolt, like it. Why would you pick Vikavolt if you already have Pikachu? I just don't see it. Scraggy, it's a decent one. It's pretty much cheap, Scrafty, and Scrafty is really good. So I can't deny Scraggy being a good mon. Katana, one of the best Dynamax mons, one of the best Pokemon in general, especially in Draft League. Like, it's pretty much one of the best Pokemon to reverse sweep your opponent. And if you get a single Max Knuckle KO, it's pretty much over versus Katana. So I really like that. Blaziken, I love Blaziken. However, I think normal Blaziken is kinda underwhelming. Like, Mega Blaziken is amazing, but normal Blaziken just doesn't do enough damage most times, and it doesn't have the bulk to really set up. However, he has Togekiss to make up for it, so maybe those two together can do some good stuff. Togekiss also really good, like Follow Me, probably one of the best Follow Me users in the game, because it also can go really offensive, and it also can make use out of the Follow Me in setting up its own weakness policy, for example. So yeah, really good. We all know how devastating Togekiss was in the first seasons. And Audino, I mean, it's fine. It has Regenerator. I believe it gets Trick Room, so it's a decent Trick Room setter. It's reasonably bulky. However, overall, I just don't think the team synergizes super well. Like, you have the super birdie mode, but the birdie mode doesn't support the Trick Room mode, and the Trick Room mode is also kinda weak. Like, Cursula is fine, but I think other Trick Room sweepers would have done a better job. Vikavolt is also kinda odd. Like, I could pick a better Trick Room sweeper than it. Like, it's amazingly strong, but it just doesn't fit super well with Pikachu, I think. I just don't like that. And overall, his team is kinda iffy. Like, typing-wise, he's missing Grass typing, Ice typing, Dragon typing, Steel typing. Like, Grass, Dragon, and Steel are some of the most important typings, and he misses them.
Katana.
And he also misses... Oh, Katana. Sorry, I overlooked Katana. I'm sorry. Yeah, for some reason I overlooked Katana as I made my type coverage. I'm sorry, I take that back. Thanks. So he's only missing Ice, Dragon, Rock, and Psychic. But if you keep in mind that he has so many types that are staggered, I think he could have easily covered for that as well. So typing wise, I only can give it, like, it's too good for a 1 but it's not good enough for a 2. So I think, like, normally I didn't want to do 1.5 star, but I think in this case I have to do it. I will give it a 1.5. Like, I don't like the airline. Speed control, like, he has a lot of speed control stuff, like with the birdies and with Trick Room and stuff like that. So, and he has Ice and Swampert, so I guess, and he has Pikachu, so I guess speed control is easily a 4. Modes wise, as said, I don't think the modes synergize super well with each other. So, but the modes that he have are solid because he has also Trick Room options. I will go with 1.5. This team is super odd. I can't do normal numbers. General support. He has Intimidate. He has double Fake Out. He has Redirection. I think for that reason I will give it a 3. And he has also Lightning Rod to support the birds, which is super good. Offense. I think his offensive mons, like, they are pretty similar to each other, and Togekiss, Moltres, and also Pikachu Vikavolt are pretty similar, so I would say it's 2. And bike-wise, I mean, he has Swampert, he has Moltres, he has Togekiss, but it's pretty much it. Like, everything else is not super bulky. It's like Katana, Vikavolt, and stuff like that, they can evade to be bulky, but even then they are not super bulky, so I think bulk-wise it's a 1 for me, which gives him 13 points and a 6.5 grade overall. So what do you think?
Thank you, Trelane. It's kind of odd in my opinion as well. I thought a little bit while you was talking, and I thought, well, Colossal is not your big friend, I guess. Because I think Colossal can just steamroll through their team. Because the rock type weakness is crazy, and he has not a lot of pivot potential in this team, in my opinion. And okay, Moltres is a good Pokemon, but if it is not set it up, the damage output it generates is not that good. Same goes with Swampert. I mean, the most threatening Pokemon in my opinion are Vikavolt, Karchana, and Critkiss. And okay, you told something about G-Max Pikachu. I think it's a very big threat as well and very underrated. Especially the Paralyze can just be very annoying, and the damage output is very crazy. You're 100% correct. But overall, I don't. It generates a knot in my head. So typing wise, I give it a 1.5 to be honest, because the synergy I don't see that much. And okay, it has a Trick Room setup with Ordinu, but I don't know. I don't see the Trick Room mode here working, to be honest. Yeah, it's very crazy. And I think as an opponent, you can very easily prepare for it. It has some speed control with Tailwind and the Paralyze and the Trick Room and the Icy Wind, but as for the Icy Wind, Swampert is pretty slow. To drop the Icy Wind, you have to make it very fast, and then it's not maybe that offensively or not that bulky, or you have to scarf it. I don't know. The modes he can run, maybe I can't see a lot of them because I can't see a lot of them. I can't see very good modes here because I would say if there is a Comfy in this team to support the Moltres or stuff, then maybe I can see a little bit more of modes here, but I can't see them. And I would think if I see the team, maybe he gets sniped a lot. I'm not quite sure what his positioning was in the draft, but I don't know, because this team seems so odd. Maybe he gets sniped a lot. The general support is there, I think, but sorry I'm just struggling here, but I just can't say a lot about this team because I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It has some bulk, it has some offense, but not that a lot. So he has to rely on some Pokemon, in my opinion. Maybe he can go with some setup baton pass stuff with Blaziken, but I don't know. Sorry, but I give it out of 12 points with an overall grade of 6. And yeah, give the ball to Kev because I can't say more about the team.
All right. Yeah, thanks. I definitely agree with most of what you guys already said. Typing is a bit unfortunate. Kalopsia stacked those flying types a lot. Like, even in the first 5 rounds or so, I think he picked up 3 of the birds. I think Moltres, Togekiss, Moltres and Togekiss were one of the first picks. Moltres definitely was the first one. Togekiss probably then was second or third.
I think
And
Katana was second, but
yeah,
doesn't matter.
exactly. Katana definitely a great pick in my opinion, and a great typing. As you guys said, Colossal is definitely gonna like this team. Unfortunately, I'm not going to play the Norwegian Darmanitans, so Colossal is a bit sad. But there's a lot like a lot of rock type weaknesses, a lot of fire type weaknesses with Katana, which would have been great for me. It would have been a fun match. This is also one of the biggest weaknesses I see in this team. Typing wise, you don't get to cover too many of the weaknesses that are very, I would say they are quite glaring in this team. You look at the team and the first thing you see is the rock type weakness. The next thing you see is, okay, Katana kind of covers for that, but 4 times fire weakness. Of course, in a draft league you can kind of prepare for it and bring a berry to resist fire type a bit better, but usually you don't want this on Katana, and especially not every week. So that's a bit lackluster, but at least the Katana gets in the coverage for the rock typing. At the same time, you've got also the electric type weakness, which luckily is mitigated thanks to the G-Max Pikachu, which I think is a great pick. It awards you 50 points, which is nice. It has the cheapest imaginable lightning rod in the whole draft. I mean, 50 extra points for getting a lightning rod is pretty big deal in my opinion. So that's something I really, really like about this team, as well as the Togekiss. Togekiss also being one of the most versatile mons available in the draft currently. It has done a great job in the previous season, and I'm sure it's going to do a great job this season again. Has a lot of great abilities. With Serene Grace and Super Luck, you can do some nice things. It can support, it can go super offensive, it can go super bulky. This is definitely one of the strongest picks in the team for me. But overall, in my opinion, it's also just a 2 out of 4 because of all the weaknesses. Speed control wise, I really like the team. Yes, the Swampert is quite slow for things like Icy Wind, but if you pair that, for example, with a Tailwind, then you can easily mitigate the Tailwind of your opponent or stuff like that due to your Icy Wind, which is actually really nice. That's something really amazing. Also with the G-Max Pikachu effect, which just can be absolutely devastating in terms of speed control and in terms of pacing. If a paralysis hits you in the wrong moment, you can easily lose the game. I've had some of those games myself, luckily being the one who set the paralysis. Yes, this is a reference to our match silence. So para can be extremely strong, but that doesn't mitigate too many of the weaknesses. And then the second big weakness of this team is not having any real modes, as you guys pointed out. There's some things that started, but none of them were fully finished. And I also think it was due to being sniped a bit and due to not getting the mons that were required in the first place and then having to readjust around that. I also know he was 10th pick or something like that, so rather a middle spot, which is definitely a bit tricky sometimes, especially if the mons you're looking at are maybe more popular ones, and then you have to readjust your whole plan. However, I landed at a 1 out of 3 for modes. In terms of general support, I think the team is okay. It doesn't get the support through as much, but I would go with a 1.5, so I round that up to a 2. I really like some of the support options that are in the team. Togekiss is really nice. Scraggy, although being tier 4, can be quite nice with Intimidate. It's super niche, but against the right opponent, it can probably save you the game. Swampert has... no, not Swampert, Crobat. Crobat has nice options. And the Galarian Corsola, I really like that one. I played Corsola a lot when I started out with VGC, and it actually saved me a lot of different games where I thought, okay, I easily lost this game, but then in the end, I managed to turn it around because I had Corsola on the field. Yes, it would be way stronger if you had something to pair up with the weak armor or something like that, but it can still come in clutch. Maybe there would have been better mons to fill that gap, but I still think it's a good pick overall. And stuff like Strength Sap and the Will-O-Wisp can be really annoying. So definitely excited to see how that one plays out. Offensively, the team has some good potential, but the big question is whether it can reveal that potential and actually also show and play that potential out. Stuff like the Galarian Moltres is super nice. You mentioned the mind games with weakness policy, with nasty plot setup and so on. This is something that can be super good and can easily win the game for him. But at the same time, he's going to have a bit of a hard time to set all that up properly. Maybe Togekiss is enough to help out with this, but because a lot of his modes are based on the flying types, Togekiss might not be the right one to help him here. And bulk-wise, it's basically the same, so I think there's a lot of potential for bulk, but if you cannot cover your weaknesses well enough, which I don't think you can in the long run, you don't have a bulky team in the end, and you can be easily steamrolled by your opponent if they pick up your weaknesses correctly. Regardless of that, I still am with a 2 out of 2 for both offense and bulk, simply because I see the potential here, and I think if Kalopsia plays a bit or is a bit creative in team building and makes 1 or 2 good switches, this team can be really great. And with the ability of making 2 switches at the time, I think in a week or 2, this team could be really strong. It needs just some testing in the first 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, to see what the actual weaknesses are when it comes to planning with this team. So I end up with a total of 13 points, which results in a 6.5.
Okay, great. Very similar to us.
Exactly. I would actually also say this is a good spot to end this first episode.
I was about to say the same.
We are already at quite a few minutes here, I think well over 1.5 hours, and we only spoke about the first 5 teams. I don't think we initially mentioned this, but this is going to be split into 3 parts. We are going to speak about 5, 5, and 6 teams. Let's see if we make it 6 or 5 next time. And we will also upload the different episodes on our respective channels, of course. The first one, which you can see right now, obviously is being uploaded to Jalen's channel. The next one, we will see. Maybe we just go by the order.
Because it features his team.
Exactly. If we go by that, then R.EX's team is going to be uploaded on his channel. Also a nice opportunity to get this video out to as many viewers as possible, because celebration time, he finally hit the 100 subscribers, which is really awesome. And
by the way, I still need 9 for that.
Yeah. We are all close to 100. You two are close to 100 as well, so
yeah, so let's close the gap with this analysis of the Kalos Division. And let's close the gap next time with a fresh mind and fresh opinions on the following 5 teams.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. And we'll see us back in the near future.
Absolutely.
And I'm done. I'm done for today.
Same here.
Okay, so I just have to say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.